Hi guys, welcome to another government class. My name is Anastasia Ogene, and our topic today is the rule of law. And the aim of this lesson is for you to understand the meaning of rule of law, for you to know the basic principles of rule of law, factors that promote rule of law, and for us to also understand the limitations to the operations of rule of law. But before we talk about the meaning of rule of law, most at times we must have heard people make these comments like everybody is equal before the law. The constitution is supreme. Nobody is above the law. Citizens have fundamental human rights which should not be taken away from them for no reasons. What is the rule of law? Rule of law can simply be defined as the supremacy of the law of a country above and beyond every individual in the country. That is to say, no one is above the law. The law is above us all, and everybody is under the law. Be you president, be you governor, be you ordinary citizen, we are all equal under the law. The doctrine of the rule of law was propounded by Professor Albert Van Dyce in 1885 in his book Introduction to the Law of the Constitution. And the doctrine has three basic principles, which are supremacy of the law, the principle of equality before the law, the principle of individual rights. And we're going to talk about these three principles one after the other. Supremacy of the law. According to Professor A.V. Dicey, the laws made to govern the action of the people and the actions of the government and the people must have absolute supremacy or predominance over everybody in the country. That is to say, the law is the final and above everybody. The principle of equality before the law. This implies that everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. The law is no respecter of persons, whether you are rich, poor, young, or old, literate or illiterate, government official, or you are ordinary citizen. The same law applies to us all. Therefore, the law should not be bent to honor the status, rank, or position of a person. The principle of individual rights. This principle implies that the law must preserve and protect the rights and freedoms of individuals. For instance, in Nigeria, the fundamental human rights of the citizens include the right to life, right to personal liberty, freedom of movement, right to ownership of personal properties. Therefore, no person shall be denied of this right or subjected to any form of inhuman treatment. So the next thing we are going to talk about is factors that promote the rule of law. Judicial independence is a main factor that promotes rule of law. The judiciary must be free from any form of external control or individual that will hinder them from delivering justice without fear or favor. Just as this popular saying that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. So the judiciary should be utmost and just in delivering of their judgment, free from any form of influence or undue pressure from any arm of government. The citizen must understand their rights and be free to defend them against any form of oppression or intimidation. The fundamental human rights of citizens must be entrenched or enshrined in the Constitution to safeguard the liberties of the citizenry. For instance, in Nigeria, the fundamental human right of the citizens can be found under Section 33 to 38 of the 1999 Federal Republic of Nigeria Constitution. The principle of separation of power should be followed to avoid conflict between the organs of government, and check and balances should be present to check their excesses. Trials of suspects must not be secretly carried out but should be done in the public, where they can be represented by defense lawyers of their choices, and justice will be done for everyone to see. Limitations to the operations of the rule of law. Inadequate independency of the judiciary is a barrier to full operation of the rule of law. Because the judges are appointed by the executive, it is quite very difficult for them to fully discharge their duties without fear or favor. Say for instance, in Nigeria's situation, it is the president, which is the executive arm of government, that is in charge of the appointment of judges in the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court. While at the state level, the governor of the state appoints the judges for high courts, judges for magistrate courts, and judges for customary courts, which is not supposed to be so. With this, the judges often at times are controlled by the executive arm of government, which made them not to be independent on their own. Illiteracy and ignorance. Illiteracy and ignorance is the most common factor that limits rule of law, because the level of literacy determines the abilities of citizens to uphold and defend their rights. There's this saying that also goes that ignorance is not an excuse before the law. Often at times, most of our citizens are intimidated by some people because they don't actually know their fundamental human rights. The declaration of state of emergency by the government sometimes happens to limit the application of the rule of law because many rights are curtailed at such period. For instance, in Nigeria's situation currently with the issue of COVID-19, the federal government has declared total lockdown declared total lockdown in our country. And with this, most of our fundamental human rights have been withdrawn from us. For instance, our fundamental human right of freedom of movement, freedom of association can no longer be enjoyed because of the restriction orders that nobody should go out without any reasons and there should be no public gathering. All these have withdrawn our fundamental human rights from us. And lastly, honestly speaking, there can be no complete equality before the law because of the issue of immunity. For instance, in Nigeria, top government, especially the executive arm of government, most of them are exempted from any form of judicial prosecution because of the immunity clause attached to the office they occupy. For instance, in Nigeria Constitution, you can't try a city governor or a city president, even though he's a suspect of a particular crime. You can't try that as long as they remain the president or governor of the state and country. That is the immunity clause they enjoy. These have negate the principle of equality before the law. More also, because of corruption and bribery in the society, most rich men often bribe their way through in order to escape justice and punishment if they are found wanting under the law. This has negated the principle of equality of individuals under the law. So far, so good. We said the rule of law was propounded by Professor Van Dicey, and it simply means the supremacy of the law above everybody in a country, irrespective of the position of the person. I would say the rule of law has three main principles, which are supremacy of the law, the principle of equality before the law, the principle of individual rights. Independent judiciary, fundamental human rights in the Constitution, separations of power, transparency in trials of suspect are factors that promote rule of law. While illiteracy, immunity, declaration of state of emergency, bribery by rich men, and inadequate judicial independence are some of the factors that limit the operations of rule of law. So our take-home exercise for today is 1. Define the rule of law, explain principle of equality before the law, state the factors that state 2 factors that limit the operations of the rule of law. So we can attend those exercises under our comment section. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.